Well, good morning. I am Bishop Jim Lowe, and we're getting ready to do an interview in just a little bit here with Sister Juandalynn Givan. And you all know about her. She's running for mayor of the city of Birmingham. And we're going to give her an opportunity to speak here. We're going to talk to her. And I've been to several forums. I'm doing this right now as we build the audience. This has been a while since we, as the gatekeepers, have done anything. And we're actually getting back up and moving because we're coming onto the season when we are the season where we're recognizing the candidates, recognizing candidates for mayor, city council of Birmingham, and also of all municipalities. I've talked to the gatekeepers. We have come together to talk to as many candidates as we can, especially in the major offices of mayor and then city council. And I'll express this that though we haven't done it in a while, I intend to post these around so that you'll be able to get a more intimate understanding of the various candidates that are running for office. We, as the gatekeepers, are a group of pastors that have gathered together in order to extend the influence of the kingdom of God into the governmental realm. It is what we feel our responsibility to help the candidates or the elected officials understand uh, a more common point of view. That is from the church members that we communicate with. We feel the pulse of the people because as pastors, we are we are we're multi congregations, and we want people to know what their elected officials are doing. We want them to know the elected officials. I've been to several forums, and a lot of times these candidates only get just a few minutes to speak. But we want to offer all candidates, that is, and those that are interested, and go pass the word around. I know we haven't done it in a while, so we got to rebuild our audience. But pass the word around that the gatekeepers are available to give each candidate an opportunity for a more personal and more intimate communication with you. So what I'm going to do right now is bring on one of our pastors, Pastor Randy Williams, who's formerly of Parkway Christian Fellowship. I'm going to let them all have an opportunity to come on stage here at the moment. And then this is Father Mitch Pacwa of EWTN television, and he has been with us for years. Each one of these pastors, also with Pastor Michael Edwards, we've been together since 2017, and we are just concerned about our community. And I just want to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. And then we're going to bring on the honorable representative, state representative, Juandalynn Givan, who is running for mayor of Birmingham. We're going to give her an opportunity to speak. So, Pastor Randy, if you would first, and then Pastor Edwards, and then Father Mitch.
Thank you, Bishop. What a great time it is today to interview one of our representatives running for mayor. I've lived in the city for 32 years, have a great interest and investment in our city, and I'm looking forward to hearing fresh ideas and seeing what her platform is.
Okay, Pastor Edwards.
Yes, I've been in the city for about 30 years as well. Have roots here, families here, raised my children here, and really do have built a ministry here and have an invested interest. So I'm excited to hear what our candidates have to offer to our city and what their plans are to move our city forward.
Father.
Good morning. It's great to be with y'all. A couple things. Not only do I work at Eternal Word Television, but I help out as as auxiliary priest at Saint Elias Church downtown, 8th Street, just off of University, block away. And so I'm very much involved in things going on in the city, even though I live in Irondale. And I'm concerned about the decline of population in the city, and wondering what are the main priorities of each mayoral candidate. What are their first and most important goals, and what do they plan to do to achieve them? That would be my primary concern.
Okay. And I'm seeing that I'm going to bring a representative in right now, hopefully going to be mayor. That's what she's going for. So we're going to bring her on and allow her to be able to have the platform. And gentlemen, what we'll do is we'll just kind of allow her to speak for a moment, and she can quiz us, or we'll get a chance to talk to her. So, Representative Givan, I'm going to give you center stage. You've met, you know me, you know Pastor Randy Williams and Father Mitch and Pastor Michael Edwards. What I'm going to do is just give you a full opportunity to talk to the public here, and you'll talk to us. And then after you've had an opportunity to share what you want to share with people, and remember, this is our first endeavor for 2025, and I intend to make sure we pass it around and get a lot of people to know you more personally. So we're going to give you the full forum, and welcome to Gatekeepers interview.
Thank you so much, Bishop, and to all of the men of God, clergy who are assembled, pastors and leaders. I am honored to have this opportunity to come, and I will make a shameless or not shameless confession to an extent. But listen, I just literally left out of the Columbiana courthouse. I practiced law for a living, and I had actually two hearings, and so I'm about to call one of my other judges because I was in between two hearings and I missed one of them because one was in the courthouse and then one was in Columbiana. But I have a very time sensitive matter that I had to get resolved in Columbiana. So with that being said, I literally just walked in the door from Shelby County and took off my jacket. And so I promised Bishop that I would come on. So I apologize for being late. But with that being said, I'm honored to be here. Listen, we are here now. Next week, this time, many of us who are running for office will be just putting the finishing touches on the polls, those individuals that we will assign to various precincts. For me, this has been a very intentional election cycle, probably one of the most intentional, not even my own for State House has been this intentional. Why? Because I will be representing an entire city. This will be the most consequential election since 1979 for the city of Birmingham. There's no way that it would not be. And for many of you who are on this call, that was a turning point here in the city of Birmingham at the time that the people elected Richard Arrington as its first Black mayor of the city of Birmingham. And of course, for those who know the history, it came as a result of the heels of the Bonita Carter killing. And that was when a young Black girl was killed at the hands of law enforcement here in the city of Birmingham. But the people of Birmingham demanded change. The reason I say this will be consequential is because change must come to Birmingham. We have been under one leader for the past 8 years. 8 years in which we've lost a little bit over 800, almost 900 people totally, give or take. Some argue that it's 1,000, some 954, but regardless of whatever it is, the amount, we've lost over 800 plus people here in the city of Birmingham to senseless gun violence. Not only have we lost that many individuals that have lost their lives. We've lost over almost 700 sworn APO certified police officers. We now only roughly have about 500 or so, give or take, employees at the Public Works Department. We have seen the city of Birmingham decline in population. Some will argue that we've only lost 16,000 under one administration. But if I follow the law and what the federal system demands is that every 10 years we report our numbers. And over the course of the last 10 years, we've lost more than just 16,000 people. And if we've lost 5,000, that's 5,000 too many. Why? Because it was enough to push us over the mark to now become the fourth highest populated city in the state. Why is that important? It's important because the pecking order of federal dollars and support to states go to those who have the highest population. So now Birmingham is fourth behind Huntsville, Mobile, and Montgomery now. And that's very critical, especially because of where we are and the services that are owed to the citizens of Birmingham. And for that reason, the loss of life, the loss of intentionality by this administration. And I hate to say this, but the loss and lack of the necessary attentiveness to the services that are owed to citizens in Birmingham is one of the reasons that I am running. I am running a race that is built upon the principles of threes, the three C's. And I'll say it like this: CPR. Let me just say this: the C's are crime, to combat, control, and conquer. P, people protection and progress. R, to reinvest, restore, revitalize. And I'm going to add one more R, and that is to rejuvenate our neighborhoods, to create a cultural shift in the minds of the people who live within. So for that reason, I am running, because I'm not running, and some are saying to take back our city. I don't believe that our city is so far gone. I believe we need to save our city at this point. We need to save our city in a way that we have a plan for crime reduction, that we have a plan for neighborhood cleanup, that we have a plan for this homeless crisis that is now to a point that it is getting to be where it is no different from the crime, because it's now out of control, and we're almost at a point that we're not going to be able to easily pivot and turn back. So at the beginning, before I announced, I developed a full plan of action. And my plan is a very intentional plan. It's not one of a scare tactic to press you on one major issue. It is to address all of the issues holistically in order to bring change here to the city. So, for instance, we have a plan to deal with the cleanup. Operation 122. Within 122 days, 99 neighborhoods, 23 communities. We're going to get this city cleaned up. Mayor Larry Langford did a 23 for 23 the first 23 days, and he did a very good job. And the city, unfortunately, has not been clean since that time period. But we're gonna move forward with Operation 122, where we're going to work with a cohesive plan to do a clean sweep of this city. We're going to get this city clean, because if at nothing else, at best, we ought to be able to have and to deliver to the people a neighborhood and an environment that is clean. All of it ties together, and I'll do a wraparound of how all of this works together. We're going to deal with Operation Friends in Transition. That will be our plan to get this homeless crisis under control. You cannot combat the homeless crises until you deal with shelter space. So we're going to address shelter space, but we're going to also address the drug crises, veterans affairs, because a lot of the individuals that we are seeing on the streets right now have been impacted by PTSD. But we're going to also deal with those who have abused. But we're going to do it in a way that, regardless of what, we must get them off the streets. We must address it through dealing with the squatters. Also, address the issue of how they get here. I've been going out daily. Our office is in downtown, so I get a chance to speak and engage with a lot of homeless. Many of them now that we're seeing are not from Birmingham. These are people who are transients. They come from all over. My question has been, day one, how and why are you all coming to Birmingham? The answer every time is that they have homeless cells, CELLS. So they have a level and a way of communicating, much like with anything else. So they know those places where they can go, and this is the clarity that they have been giving to me, that they can go and it's okay, and nobody's going to bother them. So Birmingham, to answer the question as to why has there been such an influx, is one of those places that most people who are homeless know that they can come to, or if they are right out of prison, being released from the penitentiary, whether it be in Alabama or any state. So their comments back to me, verifiable and on video, is that Birmingham is like the United States without a president. In other words, the mayor who is currently in office in this administration is not going to bother them. And that is why you see now such an influx, because They feel that they are free. So we're going to deal with that. And then we're going to also deal with the issues of not just our children and just everybody every time throwing out, well, we're going to figure something out for the children. We're going to fix the community centers. Absolutely. But I have a plan, and it is called Your Child, Our Child. And this will be a plan that will be geared toward working with the school systems as well as churches and social service agencies to do several things. One, and it's important, will be to incorporate the performing arts of some sort back into the school systems, back through our churches. Why? Because you have to begin to create a system in which not every child is going to go to, play sports. That's an activity that helps in many instances to save many of lives. But the problem is beyond playing basketball, football, baseball, soccer, sometimes hockey, what do our children have to dream bigger for? So we're going to look at the performing arts to give them more of an imagination to wish for something outside of just being tackled or catching a football, but also this fashion design, cultural fashion design, interior design, things of that nature. That when I sit down and talk with kids and they say to me, I want to be an architect, I want to be this, or I want to be that. But I'm saying to myself, well, where are you going that someone is giving you a level of hope that you do those things? When you look at major cities such as Atlanta, areas even in New York and other places, they have strong cultural districts that are embedded within those major cities. Why are they successful in those areas? Because young people can envision differently. Better STEM programs, better programs, or more programs that are inclusive to the arts, not just the arts, but also the STEM programs and vocational. Everybody's not going to be a doctor, a lawyer. Everybody's not going to be an educator. You have people who make very good money: plumbers, HVAC, building sciences, cosmetology, culinary. But where do our children really have to go? We have a few of the schools that offer those. So we're going to deal with those types of programs. We're going to also work with these churches to help us get our children's reading proficiency back up, especially now that the law changed that a child can be held back at the third grade if they're not at a certain proficiency in reading. Why do I keep mentioning the church? Because I believe that the church is the foundation. I'm not just saying this because I'm on this phone. I say it all the time, and I've been saying it even since I first ran for office. Why? Because most church doors now, other than a few, are closed Monday through Saturday evening, Sunday. So that means you have the building that can provide many services, that can assist with the homeless crises, that can assist with the programs dealing with our children, but the doors are closed. Even with the crime, if we make the church partners and stakeholders at the table, I believe that we shouldn't have to send a $1.7 million to deal with the homeless crises in Birmingham to companies in California when I have churches that are on every corner that for the most part, other than maybe midweek services, is empty. So I want to make the church partners. Now, speaking of partners, and I'll wrap it up, the neighborhoods. We've got to do better with our neighborhood participation. And that means we've got to bring them back to the table to redefine what the neighborhood associations look like in and around Birmingham. My plan is a simple one. It is going to be able to create the NAP, the Neighborhood Advisory Participation Partnership. Listen to the key word, partnership. In everything I do, there will be a partnership component. Why? Because I can't do it by myself. I'm not going to try to do it by myself. As someone who has worked for city government, I've worked for 4 mayors: Richard Arrington, Bell, and Kincaid. I also was one of the last lawyers to work on bringing Mayor Larry Langford home to die under compassionate release. I've also worked for the Public Works Department. I put myself through law school, a graduate of Miles College and Miles School of Law, working on the back of the garbage truck, brush truck, litter truck, driving, getting a CDL license. So I know what it means and what it takes to get the city clean. But with that, the partnerships, we're going to restructure the neighborhood associations. We're going to make them true stakeholders. We're going to incentivize them also, but we're going to make them partners and stakeholders at the table. We're going to have them there, and I'm going to develop a plan that is different in each neighborhood. Why? Not every plan works for every neighborhood because there are cultural differences, even from one neighborhood to the next neighborhood and community to the next community. There are different cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, family and social economic beliefs and values. They value from neighborhood to neighborhood. I have witnessed it time and time again since working with the Hope 6 program with the Housing Authority for 10 years. Every relocation project that I had to do, I saw the nuances, I saw the differences between those neighborhoods. So we're going to develop a plan for each neighborhood, but we're certainly going to bring them to the table where we're going to look at the incentives that we can use to partner with the neighborhoods to get them more active, to get them more involved, and most importantly, to increase that $10,000 that was reduced down to $2,000 because there's just no way they can properly function. But also with that, we're going to work on rebuilding a better community development department. That community development department used to be one of the number one ranking community development departments in the country. We were world renowned for the services that we offered and the programs that we administered over. Well, one of the programs through community development I want to bring back is the paint program. I have seen over the years when Birmingham City stopped giving away the paint that you begin to see more of a dilapidation in our neighborhoods because people could actually go, citizens could go to City Hall, pick up the paint, and then even if it was a simple touch up of the porch or maybe, the house itself, painting the house, they were able to do that. So that's important that we be able to enlist those services. And lastly, and not lastly, crime. My program is a crime prevention plan entitled the Birmingham Protect and Serve Community Policing Partnership. Again, what are you hearing? Partnership. Listen, the first thing Birmingham is going to have to do, we're going to have to get more officers, but we're going to have to rebuild that department. We're going to have to rebuild the morale of the Birmingham Police Department. We're going to have to build it in a way that officers feel valued, that they feel that they are not overlooked for promotions, that outsiders are not coming in where they have labored in the vineyard for many, many years. They passed the test. They've done everything the right way only to be overlooked and dismissed with regards to promotions. There has been a total erosion of the Birmingham Police Department over the course of years. I've had several conversations over the years with the mayor about this. Why do I know? Because this office here, I am a lawyer. We represent many in the Birmingham Police Department. So we have an inside track as to the issues and what goes on. But we have a plan that will entail violence prevention, we will invest in violence prevention programs for our children, for our youth. That will also include job training and job readiness, because if you can tell someone to go get a job, but if they don't have the proper training or the readiness, well, what do you wear on an interview? How does that correlate with the police department? Because if we can help people get jobs, feel self-sufficient, and have a buy-in working through some type of program, it's less likely that those people will commit violent crimes. Crisis intervention teams is a must. Every call that law enforcement goes on, they shouldn't be going on, or they shouldn't go on unless there's someone who is a trained either clinician or social worker in that particular area to assist in helping to de-escalate situations that arise, especially involving domestic violence and things of that nature. Speaking of which, community policing. Birmingham has a shortage of law enforcement. There's no way around it. And until we get the proper number of sworn APO certified law enforcement officers on the street, you're not going to see the drop that we so desperately need. there's an argument made that, oh, well, crime is down. No, killing is down a little, but listen, there's a trend across the country right now where crime is down. So it's not that Birmingham has done anything so great. And why is the trend important? Because that is just what it is. It is a trend. Criminals, just like everybody else, have sales. So all these criminals are doing, and that is why the former chief roper would always talk to us about not bragging about crime, not bragging so much that we do so much bragging, because the realization is it's not a matter of if the crime will happen, it's when. So we have a community policing plan where we're going to bring back officers who have retired within 1 to 5 years. And the reason I want to bring them back is because they will be the likely ones who will help to man my proposal of substations in these high crime areas in which there's not enough police presence, and those individuals are more apt to commit crimes. So we're going to be working on getting those officers to at least begin to open the substations. If they open the substations, then if the substations are open, there's a police presence. And we're going to restructure the beat officers. We're going to be diligent in putting the beat officers in place to ensure that individuals in the neighborhoods get familiar with them. Why is that important? When you have strong presence of beat officers in neighborhoods, they know the residents, and the residents and citizens know them. So as a result, if someone is going to commit a crime, they know that they have a beat officer there, who's going to probably 9 times out of 10 be able to identify through some means of knowing who committed the crime, if there was a plan in action to commit a crime, and if not, certainly where to go to get the information that they need. So that is what's missing in these communities. And to wrap it up, we will also have a police accountability unit also, not just your standard um, internal affairs, but we're going to be looking at certain oversights. That's going to be more of the oversight committee. We're going to get them back to working. We're going to get them back up and back to the table. De-escalation training, not just for officers, but for citizens, because that goes into the heart of mentoring as well as conflict resolution, because everything sometimes it's not just the police now. And I have to tell my clients that come in here. So there are ways that we can work on de-escalation and restorative justice. We need to look at alternative sentencing programs. So I have a very, very, very comprehensive plan. I'm not just out here asking for your vote, running on one platform. And I'll close with the last thing I'll talk about: rent reduction. We're going to have to do something by way of a rent moratorium. Rent is so very expensive here in the city of Birmingham. I have a plan for building houses, building communities. That is a solid plan where we're going to build houses, market rate as well as mixed income, mixed finance, because not everybody wants a low to moderate income housing. So we're going to do a combination of low to moderate housing, but we're going to also build back neighborhoods. Birmingham has not had a neighborhood built since Oxmoor, and a portion of that is a community, and a portion of that is in the Bessemer Cutoff. So with that being said, crime reduction, clean neighborhoods, affordable housing, jobs, municipal court reform is huge because of the high fees and costs that are being taxed. Transportation, getting the street fixed, streets resurfacing, cleaned. The city services are a must. The 311 must be revamped. Environmental justice is huge. Health and human services, and whatever we can do to work with the legislature. And as I close, I know there are some who are talking about the takeover. Listen, the realization is that we are in a supermajority. If the government in Montgomery is going to attempt to take over any city, if they choose to make it a part of their platform, they will be able to do it. We have been able to push legislation back, and yes, Representative Reed Ingram has filed in again the bill in which the governor would appoint, and this will be only on a temporary basis, the chief of police on an interim level, or the attorney general. Listen, I don't know if the bill has legs or not. We never know until we get back into the legislative session. But what I do know for sure is not the intent for a permanent takeover. And I'm not necessarily supportive of the legislation. I've spoken with Representative Ingram about the bill. But listen, at the end of the day, we have bigger issues, because if there's a takeover, I'll simply say Reed is sponsoring this bill because there are several mayors who refuse to answer to the state with regards of the true number of sworn law enforcement officers. They refuse to turn over critical information, and that is the mayor of Birmingham and the mayor of Montgomery. And there's just an appetite that people in the legislature are sick of it, especially when we go out of our way to try to pass legislation to deal with the crime issue, but we can't get responses. That is also the reason why the waterworks was eventually taken over. Why? Because you have mayors such as this mayor and the one in Montgomery who feels that they are untouchable. And so as a result, you get those kind of bills, and you get a push, or there's a greater push. But at the end of the day, my comment to you all is simple, and I've said this: if y'all like what y'all have, y'all keep it. If you want better, you will do better. Because at the end of the day, Birmingham is in a quagmire. And something must change. This mayor ran 8 years ago on several things. If crime is high, he spoke off of his lips, blame the mayor. He also said he did not believe in 2 terms for a mayor of a major city, and that he would support not running for multiple terms outside of the 2 terms. And so now we are here thusly. I have put the sweat equity in, and I am pushing to be the first female mayor. I have been endorsed by the oldest political organization, Black political organization here, the Jefferson County Citizens Coalition, which was founded under Richard Arrington. So I am now the first female to be endorsed to lead and head that ticket for mayor of the city of Birmingham. And this will also be the first time that they did not endorse an incumbent mayor. So that is a telltale in itself. And I'm thankful for that. Thank you all for allowing me to share, and I will entertain any questions.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Bishop.
That's exactly what we wanted to do, Representative, was to give you an opportunity to be free to express what your heart is. And now I'll open it up for some of the pastors to ask, since I don't want to take everything here. But why don't we, Pastor Randy, I know you got a timetable here. Why don't you speak to Representative Givan and share what your thoughts are at this point?
Representative, thank you for being with us today.
Mhm.
I have a couple of questions. The mayor can't do everything, and I know you'll need to work with the city council. Is there some piece of legislation or statute that you would like to see them pass that will help you gain your goals here?
Listen, let me just say this, and I know you're speaking of the Mayor Council Act, and it's very unfortunate that there are some who are making that Mayor Council Act be the holy grail. Any mayor who is the mayor has the responsibility of developing a budget, sending the budget to the council. At any point, he has that right. The bottom line is Birmingham needs a city council who will stand up to the mayor and say to them, they have 5 votes. It takes a majority of vote to get anything done every Tuesday. We have city councilors who sit here and do nothing. Also, I am a mature enough person that I want the support. The first thing you have to do is elect someone who's mature enough to say, I'm not going to use every bit of power that I have to punish, to take power away from others. I want to be able to share the budget. I want the input from those that are on the Birmingham City Council. You all need a mature mayor, because even if you pass a budget to say, pass a bill to say that you turn that budget over, that mayor still will have within his discretion to turn it over. I've never not seen it not work that way through this entire country. So you're dealing with the issue of maturation, and you need a mayor who is mature enough to understand the undertaking of being an administrator. 8 years ago, the people of Birmingham elected someone to be mayor in which they had never had a job, in which they had administrated, that they had coordinated, that they had managed, and the people decided to turn the city, the largest key to this city, over to someone out of law school who had been given his first real job by his boss that he ran against. Well, the danger in that was also at the time he came in, basically everybody other than Valerie Abbott and Darrell O'Quinn had left the council, and there was no institutional knowledge. And also the danger was they were two city councilors who were usually able to get what they want, or the bar in most of their districts was so low that they supported the incumbent, that because they were able to get many of the things that they wanted because of how their districts were centered. And so now we have a dictatorial mayor council form of government. I will support the will of the people, and if that means the modifications with the mayor, with the mayor council, let's do it. I am excited to do it. I am excited to make those changes. And me being in the legislature, I know pretty much those changes that probably should be made. But this is really about leadership and the individuals who partake in these positions understanding the power that they do have.
Sure. My second question would be this: in asking the churches to help with the reading issues in education, you're suggesting that the school system is not getting the job done. So, how would you address the school board? What would you ask them to do to improve the educational system?
Oh no, I'm not suggesting at all, because Birmingham is making some strides. But like, as you just mentioned, the mayor can't do it all. The school systems can't do it all. I'm looking at the fact that we send so much money out of the state, out of the city of Birmingham, to have things done that people such as yourself, church leaders such as others, have the resources, they have the facilities, and also it adds the common touch. We have got to touch our children. We should have more enrichment programs going on in and around the city of Birmingham that can further help aid in the overall development of our children. But certainly it could put plans and programs in place in which our children have additional resources. For many of our children, sir, some of these children, the only meals they get usually during school are the ones at school. So why not develop better enrichment programs throughout the churches that are sitting there? I would certainly rather split $1.7 million with all of you all versus sending $1.7 million away when you have some churches that they are also in need and they have the people. Many churches have retired educators. You all have 501c3s. You have all types of other programs that you can definitely, either if you don't have them, you definitely can work to create or reestablish. And also, why is the church important? Because the church is in the communities. For every Birmingham community, there is a church somewhere so assembled. So as if little Marquise is in X neighborhood and there's a church that's right up the street, and Marquise needs reading proficiency training or a drama program, even if I'm working with you all with regards to some type of drama. Listen, the reason I threw the performing arts out there, a few years ago, I literally sat at a conference of attorneys. And there was Gail Gear. I don't know if you know her. She's well known, very well established attorney here. She made a comment. Everybody in the room looked at her like she was crazy. I was one. And she said to me, she said, the erosion of the public school system in the Black, especially now in the majority of the 20-something thousand students that we have here in Birmingham, was when they took the arts, because you began to strip away at the core of hope and I couldn't get it in the minds of the children. So if you're not on the football field, if you're not on the basketball field, if you're not a cheerleader, what else do you have that is distractive for purpose and promise and the hope of being able to envision something greater than where you are? It helps to cultivate the minds of our students. Our children and the people around Birmingham need a cultural mind shift because we don't have it right now in our neighborhoods. And for that, the people will perish because they have not changed their minds, because they don't have anything else to hope for. People in Birmingham, and not only in Birmingham, but across the country, when you give people something to hope for and to be able to dream a dream bigger than themselves, they accept and gravitate toward change more. Too many churches are sitting here, even with the crisis of the killing. How many of the churches were called upon to do anything to really help? You had the peacekeepers that are further on the west side of town, but I'm talking about a real cohesive plan. And one of my plans is to create, and what I did not mention is a office of faith-based initiatives. Certainly, if we could create a division for the LGBTQ, we should have been able to create a division for the faith-based ministries throughout the city of Birmingham, because churches touch more people than any other sect of people. And we need the church. The word of God says that when they are sick among you, you need to call on the elders of the church. I'm not just talking from the standpoint of disease and illness. I'm speaking of disease and defect of the mind, broken hearts, spirits, things that dwell within. The lack of knowledge. The people will perish for the lack of knowledge. So I believe in the word of God. There is sick amongst us right now. And at the end of the day, you take it back to COVID. Church was the first thing to close, the last thing to open back up. I just don't believe that we should have a city, an urban city, and it's rare that that is the case, that there's an urban city, that there is not a strong pastoral ministerial association. Birmingham would be one of the very few that is the case, especially in an urban community.
Thank you.
I got to add us all back to the screen on that. I happen to like that. But Father Mitch, go ahead. Or Pastor Edward, let me go to you first so we can kind of mix that up a little bit.
Well, could I perhaps go first, because I've got an appointment with a nurse, if that's okay with you, Pastor Edward?
Yes,
Sure, Father Mitch.
Thanks. Yeah, I've got a nurse that's coming in to help me with this past surgery. A couple things. First of all, I like what you're saying. I think the role of the arts in terms of development, teaching children how to even read music as well as to know music and the other arts is extremely important. And it helps them with their reading. I've been an educator myself. I taught high school for 5 years and university level for 16. And so I'm really big on that. The other thing that I would like to emphasize is what you were saying about encouraging the trades. The trades need to be developed, and I think of creativity. I've talked to some of the politicians, didn't go anywhere, but for instance, at a high school level, to encourage people, the students, to, if they're interested in, say, mechanics, auto mechanics, have a program where people donate cars like they do for National Public Radio and other groups. And then have each child, boy or girl, be assigned a car. And through the 4 years of high school, to learn to fix the transmission, engine, body work, rear end, all this stuff. And they go through stages. And if they graduate, for $5, they get to buy the car they just worked on. And you got to make them pay for it, or else they have to pay tax on a charitable donation to them. But if you make them pay $5 for a car they worked on for 4 years, and it's a reward, and to do the same with the other trades, to see, if you go into a carpentry or a plumbing or electrical, culinary, etc., you acquire more tools each year, and if you graduate, you get to keep them.
Oh,
that did,
I do love that concept, and that's huge. And let me tell you another thing, because people don't realize, I had a plumber to come to my house a few weeks ago, $400 an hour.
yep.
I said to the plumber, "You better get it right, because you cannot." And this is a true story. I said,
The
"Listen,
first time, right?
listen, you better get it right on the first time, because you can't come back here." Because I was like, I need to change my billable hours here in the office for $400 an hour just to come and get unstop the toilet or whatever I had going on, and I meant it. But I like that, because that again creates the incentive for them to have something to work for. Jackson Olin High School used to have an award-winning auto mechanic, auto body division at their school. They're trying to revamp it, and I know Huffman is doing a good job with their building sciences. But I do like the way you are saying that we need to find an incentive
Yes.
for them,
Yeah.
that they have something to not just learn but to build towards. I get it. I like that, to build goals.
There's a real reward to help you with the next stage of life. And the other thing that I would emphasize is that unless you have more plumbers, electricians, carpenters, etc., you can't rebuild the neighborhoods because you don't have the people who know how to have the skills.
You don't
So
have the
this
people.
and this
Exactly.
keeps the money for those skills within our neighborhoods. The last thing I would ask is take a look, if you would, at Nativity Cristo Rey School.
Mm-hmm.
They have 100% graduation rate. And my nurse is here, but that they also have 1 day a week where they work in a business. Now, I just have to
They
get
have
up
an
a second.
excellent program over there, and
Yes,
I will definitely father check into that, because I have been in amazement. They're probably one of the best kept secrets in Birmingham,
exactly.
and very quietly, and I will definitely look into that.
Okay. Yeah, that's just as a model to help the students, because it's not just that they work 1 day a week and that helps pay the tuition. But the other thing that I noticed, because I do a little bit of work with them, is that the students acquire a skill of relating to adults.
Being able, again, it goes back to the mentoring. That is why I don't know if
Exactly.
I said it.
Exactly.
Birmingham has to do better. Every school in the Birmingham City school system has to have a strong mentoring concept. That's one of the things that is missing, because outside of that, because the kids can't just go to the community centers.
Right.
They are reinstating the police athletics, but that's just not enough. A few days, and I know you have to go, I was engaging with some kids. And
Well, I can go and sit and talk, keep listening while you're talking.
I was engaging with some children, and I actually playing basketball with them. And there was one young child that was on the court, and I said, "Would you give me the ball?" So it was as if I had to ask this young man. He couldn't have been, I think I think he told me he may have been in the 7th or 8th grade, but he didn't want to let the ball go. He didn't want to give me the ball. So in that instance, I said, there's a greater issue here. So as I sat there and I worked with the young man, I later found out that this young man has X amount of children in the household, single family.
Yes.
Basically, he's there to be the father of the house. And from that point, I shifted my focus, because that ball in that instance was all he had
Mm-hmm.
hold on to.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
It was all it was a very emotional time. And so as the person, the adult that came up and started sharing with me, I said, okay, the light has gone off. We have got to figure out a system. We must figure out a system. And whatever we do with our kids, it has to be one that will nourish them mentally and emotionally, to give them a belief, that someone cares, but also that they are greater in whatever they're doing, whatever situation. But it gives them, I cannot leave this word alone. a sense of hope and promise and
Now,
enrichment, because that's what you just spoke about.
now, one last point I would make: when you ask for the churches to be involved in education with the students and reading programs, I think it's a great idea. Would there be any legal problems about the churches including, as part of their curriculum, religious books? Is that something
I
that they
don't
would
think
be?
so. I don't think that it would be. Well, that's one of the things that hasn't necessarily been totally knocked down. But let me get the verification on that, and I'm
That
sure that's something
that
that we
would be
can
good
work with.
to have
But
that figured out, to get
Let
the
me
churches more on board. Thank you.
let me
I just
add
have
to
to
that,
do
Father.
this nursing stuff, but I appreciate the work you're doing to know what the community is thinking and doing and needing. So I appreciate that a lot.
Before you go, Father, and Representative will understand, I was working with them this past session. There was a bill that was presented to allow the students to leave the schools and be able to go to I see that she's online to leave the schools and go to a biblical type of thing. So I'm certain that some of these things can be worked out, Father, if you're listening. I think and Representative knows about those bills that have
oh
been
yeah,
presented.
absolutely. I think those things can be worked out, and let me just say, just from a legal standpoint, in my profession, I've seen it work both ways. And a lot of that, especially when you're looking at religion, or someone decrying that there is a excessive entanglement, you have to just do it on a play by play. I think that would certainly be something that we can get resolved, because at the end of the day, you all would be providing the service. We're not going to force it down anyone's throat, but this will be the service, because right now we have kids and we have got to get these kids up to snuff in with our reading. And the churches have too many educators. There are too many experienced educators in the school, in the churches, that are willing and able to come in for 3 or 4 days out of the week. Also, not only just for the students, but addressing and helping with these homeless crises. Our churches are right now, and especially in the downtown area, are struggling to deal with the homeless crises, because they really need support, because so much of the influx is on this side of town, and especially over here and along this 4th and 5th Avenue. So those are things that I want to be able to sit down with the clergy. And I'm going to do something that this administration did not do. I'm going to call a meeting day one with the clergy out and have you all to come to tell me what we need to do to make it right and to hold me accountable.
Okay, well, now let's give you an opportunity, Pastor Edwards, to speak to her. Father, you going to be able to hang along with us if we still continue?
Yes, I'll still be here. I'm going to put myself on mute so I can
Okay.
talk to the nurse who's helping me here, but I'm going to be listening.
Okay, and then I want you all to know Father Mitch gets in about 14 million homes daily over there.
No, 400 million.
I, I always cut him short on
You got
that.
to get your numbers right.
Okay.
400 million
Representative,
homes.
would you please send him back to school?
Listen.
Birmingham education,
I will
right?
always listen to what the Father says do, but you know what? We're dealing with Bishop Lowe.
Well, where we going?
Pray for him, Father.
Oh, I do. I do.
Okay,
Bless
well,
his heart.
I'm gonna allow Pastor Edwards to have a few words. You've said some things that I really want to talk to, but I'm gonna give Pastor Edwards an opportunity. So, Pastor, go ahead
So
and
thank
share
you
what
so
you'd
much.
like to share.
Also to candidate Givan, thank you for all you do for the city, man. You're amazing, inspirational, and I just love your energy. My question to you though is, honestly, we talk about the growth in the city, and we know the population is going down from that standpoint. It has been going down from decades, and I guess we've lost it here. We failed to Huntsville, Montgomery, and I think
Mobile.
Mobile. However, our credit rating has been increasing, and we can't doubt that there has been some growth with our far as social hubs and the entertainment districts for the young entrepreneurs and budding members of our community. That does show some promise that we are headed in the right direction. And along with the credit rating indicating not only are we at a better credit rating, but we are also above all the other four cities that are beating us in populational growth. Does that, from my opinion, I mean, I guess I'm asking your opinion, does that show that we are headed in the right direction in your opinion, or does that just old music, if that makes sense?
It's old music. Birmingham has never been real short as it relates to on the credit ratings. That is why when we've had the bond deals and things of that nature, the problem is that the people are suffering.
Okay.
The people who are living in these 99 neighborhoods, some of them hardly ever go to downtown Birmingham. They hardly ever go to uptown. Birmingham is bigger than uptown, downtown, and the south side. And that is the problem. The people in the neighborhoods want those 7 services. They want the libraries open on Saturday. Speaking of reading proficiency, how can you have a strong city center or a strong school system and the children can't even go to the library when school is closed on Saturday, when school is out on Saturdays? They want better streets. They want the brush, the trash, the litter, and debris picked up. Most of the people in the neighborhoods care about these few things. They're not necessarily concerned about downtown. They are concerned that the houses and the vacant lots that they live next to, that those lots are cut. They're sick and tired of the squatters in their neighborhoods. You have more seniors now in the church that are going and buying padlocks because they don't know who's living in the dormant, vacant house or on that street with them. It is not that the west side of Birmingham is so bad. It is that the west side is so dormant. What do I mean? You have wider streets, but you have darker streets. You have a larger land mass because the west side makes up and encompasses over 50% of the city of Birmingham. Thusly, the Birmingham Police Department should have more people working the West Precinct than they should have working any precinct. But most times you only have 4 to 5 officers per shift working at the precinct on the west side. That is a telltale of the doom, destruction, and disaster waiting to happen. So with that being said, the credit rating is fine. But at the end of the day, the amount of money that we now get from the federal government, because we're not showing that we have the majority of the citizens that are overwhelmingly, or that is overwhelmingly in the numbers, it's not good. Why? Because the hundreds of millions of dollars that could be coming to Birmingham now is going to Huntsville first, Mobile, and Montgomery. So it all works hand in hand.
Okay. Great. And my other question was, of course, every campaign year we hear about the plight in the city and all the things that we want to do to clean it up with the potholes and everything of that nature. My question would be to you, how would you actually, what metric would you use for the citizens of Birmingham to actually be able to say, hey, you know what, you said you're going to do this. We can actually see what you've done, because every candidate comes in and they do some work in these cities, and they do some things that they can show us. But how can we actually scale it and say, hey, we got 30 houses, and how would you be able to get that to the citizens so we can actually see that the work is getting done and just not being talked about?
Yeah, and let me say this, Pastor, not every mayor comes in and does that. I'm just going to be honest. They run on it. And what you see is a lot of when it is election season and whoever the incumbent is making a mad dash rush to try to get the city cleaned up. And some of that flows over into the new administration if he is not successful. So with that being the case, the problem comes is when they go, and I'm not sure what happens when and I've tried to figure this out, what happens when they get into these positions. They forget that they made the promise to do the job. You have not heard me promise you anything, and I am not going to promise you. I'm going to tell you I'm going to do it. Why? Because I'm going to do it, because that is what I do. Also, because I'm passionate about getting the city cleaned up, because I worked at the Public Works Department and I know what it takes to get it clean. Listen, it is simple. At the end of the day, the metrics is going to be when you see that these trucks are continuing to run. Not only are they running, but you're going to see more people. Birmingham, if you look around, how much rolling stock have you seen rolling through the city of Birmingham? You've seen a few trucks rolling now, but just a few weeks ago, the garbage service. We literally had men who run refuge loading garbage on a dually truck. Do you know how grueling those few days were for those that you're talking about cruel and unusual punishment? But what will be the metrics? The metrics is the proof will be in the put.
It looks like we lost our feed
Am I
to,
still? I say that
yeah, there you
because
go.
Bishop. I say that because the proof will be in the pudding, because we're going to revamp, as I said, that 311 call center. There has to be a restructuring internally. One of the problems why you don't see things getting done, because people say, well, we're going to do these things, but then they're elected, but you don't go in and internally look at the structure of the departments that are required to provide the services to the citizens. So I can't tell you I'm going to fix the public works issue if I don't go in and really look at revamping the public works department. I can't tell you I'm going to get these streets clean if I don't go in and really sit down to really understand what 311 does. What is the response time? How many of the tickets are being held? Why are the tickets not being worked, and there is a level of work product? Why is it that citizens are sitting here and they're not getting the services? And that is what you're seeing. I have not been to one neighborhood meeting yet where the 311 and the Public Works Department was not at issue. Not one meeting. But even to that end, let me say one thing to you. To that end, however, I'm going to have a open door policy on every Friday from sun up, and I do mean to sundown. I'm going to allow citizens who want to come in to meet with me, they're going to come in and they're going to tell me it is called Real Talk with the Mayor, Chat and Chew. We're going to have some little snacks and water or what have you, and juice or whatever. They're going to get a chance to come in if they want Coca-Cola. And I'm a Mountain Dew drinker. I don't do alcohol, but sit down with a good cold Mountain Dew. And we're going to sit there for a few minutes. And I'm going to allow those citizens to tell me what they need. But most importantly, if they called in and complained, why is the service not rendered as of yet? Larry Langford was the best to ever do that. Larry would take a call and a complaint. Not only would he check with the 311, Larry would go himself to that person's home. He would go to that neighborhood. So when you look at the metrics should be you gauging by the rate of service. You're gauging the rate of services by the call or the complaint. And not only that, every public works department, there should be spotters out there that are driving these neighborhoods on a daily basis, going behind these trucks, going behind the workers. You know, if you're a spotter, you're driving and you see a major pile that's been sitting there, it has changed colors. You see mattresses, you see shoes, you see all type of everything, and it's been there for 2 months. Make it make sense.
Okay.
If you see it there every day and nobody's doing anything about it, what is the grade? F. Zero, zilch, not a none. And that means somebody within those departments are not doing their job. A lot of this stuff we want to add to, apply a metric system. We want, I'm just going to be honest. It's a dereliction of duty and responsibilities.
Okay, great. Last question. I know you mentioned in your platform, one of the things that I was very interested in was you mentioned expanding the public transportation and the micro transit. And as you spoke to, like many of Birminghamans have not been to Uptown because they live so far out and the poverty stricken things of that nature. And public transportation will be just so awesome for the city of Birmingham, in my personal opinion. But with it being talk about it for years, we have seen some movement and some things that have developed. But I guess my question to you, how do you plan on funding these improvements and ensuring that they're reliable for the daily commuters? Like, how would you actually get it started for us?
We're going to continue to improve the route system here. We're going to continue to improve the route system, but we're going to also not just improve, we're going to look at some other alternative forms of transportation. For every great city in this country, there is a great transportation system. For every great system, there is a great there is a great transportation system. And with that being said, we are going to have to come up with a plan of action that will incorporate more routes and also a better promoting of mass transit here in the city of Birmingham. And that's another thing. We're going to have to get people out of also thinking that a car is their all saving grace. But most importantly, be more open to the neighborhoods. Sometimes the people don't come downtown to the events and things of that nature. And it's because of a couple of reasons. I'm having to walk because I had someone literally coming to our door and nobody's on this side of the building right now. So I want to make sure I stay with you all. So at this point, I saying that we're going to work on those, expand the routes, work with the Department of Transportation to get more grant funding, but definitely the expanding of the routes and the promoting of the routes is huge.
Good, good. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, then, Pastor and Father, I'm gonna give you one more chance, and then I'm going to have a few words to say uh, to the representative. Anything else you guys want to that's on your heart or that you want to ask her about before I just kind of have a
I
talk
did
with her?
want to. I wanted to mention too with I don't know like what Father Mitch was asking about. I want with having the trades in the schools, would it benefit the school financially, like to have the students to be more involved in taking care of the school? You get what I'm saying? Like if they're in school for plumbing, to have some.
All of it. It works hand in hand. Listen, there are if you notice through my presentation, I spoke about partnerships. You will be surprised at the level of partnerships that can be created by even what you're saying. Why? Because if you're doing true partnerships, also, that's giving the person that you're partnering an opportunity to be at the table, but it's also giving that person an opportunity to have an opportunity that they would not have had. So then you're creating inclusion. You're creating at some point there will be a sense of entitlement if you can pull off the program. Why? Because just as the father said, now I've helped to build this car. I was the best at doing it or whatever the project was, and now I've won. So I have partnership, I have inclusion, I have a purpose, I have promise, but most importantly, I have a reward in the end for which I have worked. And that in itself helps to build character. I'm out here talking with these young kids, not just because I'm running for mayor. I do it anyway. I go to the schools, I go to the different classrooms, I sit down and talk to kids. I'll close with this example. There was a young girl a few months ago back at one of the local high schools. And this was I think this one may have been an honors class. If it wasn't, I think it was. But anyway, everybody in there are brilliant young students. But I could tell with several of the students, this one particular young lady, I did ask how many of them had children. At the time, at the time that I was asked the question, I just simply took note of everybody, this, that, and the other, this, that, and that. And so, but there was one young lady, she was very agitated. You could tell she's smart, but she was agitated. She was smart, but she was agitated. She was smart, but she was agitated. And so, with that being the case, the bottom line ended up being I saw this young lady a few weeks later. She ran up to me. As a matter of fact, this was about a year or so ago. She ran up. She said, "I know you're not going to remember me." I said, "Your face looks so familiar." She said, "You remember you came to the school and you spoke?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I didn't raise my hand." She said, "But I had just had a baby." She said, "As a matter of fact, I had only been back in school probably about three weeks." She said, "But that morning I was having a real rough day." She said, "I had difficulty, with my babysitter, da 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 da." She said, "But I want you to know I heard what you said." So when she went down the whole litany of things, a list of things, I felt so good. Why? Because I had a student, someone that was in the Birmingham public school system, someone who had lost all hope, someone being myself who talked with them, who listened to them, but also was able to give them a sense of enrichment by rolling out certain points. Again, changing the mindset. We have to give our children hope, and regardless of what their status is, we must do that.
Agree. Agree.
Okay. Um, I'm going to bring Father back too for a minute. Um, I um, I don't know how to. My questions, there've been a lot of good questions that have been asked for you in regards to the city, and I've heard. I'm impressed with what I've heard from you, um, and especially so when you speak in terms of the church, the responsibility of the church to engage with civic activities.
Mhm.
Um, that's deeply on my heart, and that's what the gatekeepers are about. And when you say that you're looking, and I don't think you did that to garner any support from me.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Well, I'm going to be very direct about that because a few years ago, when you called me, I think it was the first of this year, you made a statement to me, and I appreciate your honesty. And you called me, and I'll just let everybody know that years ago we were on opposite sides of a point of view on a thing, and
Mhm.
I didn't appreciate what you were doing, and we had a conversation, and we talked to one another. It wasn't non-cordial; it was a cordial conversation. We just recognized we had different points of view, and I thought we were on different points of view on a lot of things, but we hadn't talked. And then you called me first of the year. You say, "Now, Bishop Lowe, we don't talk." And I said, "Yes, ma'am, we don't talk." And I'm going to make this be like the two of us up here for a minute because I want to do that. And it was like, yeah, we don't talk, and I know that because I don't know that we were eye to eye on certain things, but I want everybody to understand that we had a conversation. We
Mhm.
talked
That's right.
through some of the differences that we had, and I think that's what's lacking in today's society. People to sit down and talk to one another and recognize just because we have different points of view, it doesn't mean that we
Right.
have to
Mhm.
start disliking or hating somebody. We've got to learn
Mhm.
that we're all human beings. We don't know what's right. We all make mistakes. But one of the things I want to say that I've recognized from you, you seem to be thoroughly abreast of everything that's going on. You seem to have a heart for the people. You
Mhm.
seem to be concerned about what's going on in the city of Birmingham. I'm
Mhm.
impressed with that. One of the things that the scripture talks about with David was that his integrity of heart, and that is someone who, we're not all perfect, but you seem to be someone who's saying, I have this desire for the citizens. I have a same desire for the citizens. I believe that we as pastors that are online and gatekeepers, we have a responsibility to see after the people that so many politicians mess up. They mess
Mhm.
up our communities. They mess up our society because they're trying to keep themselves promoted, always setting themselves above everyone else as though they're
Mhm.
gods. They're the ones that get all the protection. Then they tell the people, average people out here on the streets, you don't need any protection. We'll protect
Exactly.
you, you know. And I'm impressed with some of the things you've said. Another thing is integrity of heart, and you've shown a skill of hand and that you seem to know how to do this. You've been representative how many years now?
4 terms out. Last year, I completed this past session that you became the other member of the House of Representatives. What he has not told y'all is he is the other member, the 106th member of the House of Representatives. But I completed 15 years.
15 years in the House of Representatives.
15
And that,
is not that long.
that means there's obviously somebody that thinks well of you, the people, the constituents that you deal with.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
I
And
have
I
to let
think
you
I
know,
think
I will let you know I wasn't one of them that thinking you were I just thought you just were one of the politicians. But I think the biggest compliment I can give you is that I can see that you may know the political game, but from what I'm hearing is a heart that's not just for politics. Because
absolutely,
I've
absolutely.
seen so much of this that it breaks my heart. That's the reason why I try to engage pastors. We've got to have people who are concerned about people, not just about themselves and exalting themselves in their political field. So I thank you, and I don't have any of those pertinent questions
Yes,
to ask. Go ahead.
I did want to say one thing. Listen, the reason I am intentional, listen, I had the honor. If you listen to the men that I called off, regardless of what someone thinks, Richard Arrington was probably he will go down as in history as one of those great leaders here. Why? He was the first one to do it. He set a blueprint. Whether someone followed that blueprint or not, as the first, you set a framework. I don't think it can be denied that some degree of framework was not laid. But for me, the reason I can speak passionately about cleaning these streets is because I've cleaned the streets before. I've worked. I started my law school, and I was Miss Miles College. My friends were going into the corporate communities and things of that nature, but I was working on the back of a garbage truck. I worked on the back of a brush truck. So I've been out there with the citizens when they wanted the trash picked up and the paper picked up, and the city of Birmingham was cleaner back then, and the services did roll a little bit better. I can't answer as to why that doesn't happen when people get in, but I do believe in even as a political analyst, I have always been one to believe that the things that the citizens want are not the things necessarily that you're going to see downtown with the big blinking lights. Our citizens want safe neighborhoods, clean neighborhoods. They want some of these storefronts open back up. They want to be able to do a little bit more shopping, more mom and pop stores in the neighborhoods. They want resources more so than anything. But most importantly, they want someone who will at least respond to their phone calls. And that's another reason why I'm looking at City Hall differently, because I'm tired of people calling and they can't even get anyone on the telephone. It's unacceptable that you have people making $170,000, $80,000, $200,000, $220,000, $250,000, and nobody answers your phone call, or it takes them a month to get back with you. Make it make sense. And this is the reality. Listen, crime is at issue, and we know that. But services is at even a bigger issue, because even if you fix the crime, you got the poor service that the citizens still aren't getting the phone calls returned, and the trash still isn't being picked up. This city is filthy, and there's no way around it.
Well, those are things that are concerns that I think the pastors here we have in regards to our community. And one thing I want to say to you, just thank you for your time that you've spent with us. And I want you to understand, we will be open to any candidate to be able to have a personal one-on-one with us. And just as I'm being honest with you, I think each one of these pastors, that's what we owe it to you, and we owe it to everyone to be as non-political, but to be more biblical and intentional at trying to make sure that persons like you who do get an authority are not going to exploit the people that you're supposed to serve. One of the things you told me years ago, and I want to be careful, I don't want to, because that was years ago. That was almost 10 years ago. And you made a statement. You said, Bishop, the people don't know what we're doing. And I'm gonna confess something to you right now. I didn't like you saying that. You said people don't know what we're doing and they're gonna forget it. And you told me that. And I will tell you this, that's what inspired me to put this organization together, so that people could know what their representatives are doing, to know what their mayor's doing, to know. And a lot of times I've been put in trouble because I will bring out what mayors and
the responsibilities are. You need to.
But somebody's got to let the public know. And I've been told a lot of times, don't ask questions, don't say nothing, be quiet, just let it go. I cannot let it go. And none of these men that you've met today are willing to let it go. And if there are other pastors out there that are willing to take a stand so that we can protect God's people, we need to protect God's people. And Father Mitch can actually give you a more biblical basis than I can. He's a Jesuit. They're the nerds of the Catholic Church. Well, I can't say all of them are.
Well, Bishop, I want to say thank you.
Nerd is talking to him, but I want you to know, I said he's the nerd. I need to say Father Mitch is a nerd.
He called you a nerd, but listen, Father.
I'm a nerd.
Now, Representative.
Yes, sir.
Representative, just let me point out that this nerd is also a killer. If you see that critter up on my,
I see that.
So I'm a nerd with a good eye.
I just want to know how many points is on that deer right there. How many points on there?
He's talking to his nurse, and she's over there she got a needle in her
14.
hand.
No, he was counting the
Oh
points.
no, he was pointing the whatchamacallits of the deer. Yeah, look at it. Go ahead on in. I mean, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's 14 points.
Kenny, this was it.
14.
He's a nerd, he's a pastor, and he's a killer. Make it make
And he's
sense.
look, make it
Make
make
it
sense.
make
All
sense.
that. Listen, make it make sense. Oh yeah, he has more than one head up there on that wall. Okay, come on now, Bob. Okay.
Well, look,
That's-
they're in my kitchen so that if you come over here and I feed you, he can watch himself getting eaten.
Okay, I got you. I got you. I got you.
Okay.
I
Well,
All
got
you
you.
want.
I got
let me try to bring this.
I got it.
You said you had something you wanted to say.
No, I
Representative.
was going to say, Bishop, that what you just stated is very, very important with regards to the knowledge. Because so many, what I found over the past course of 15 years, many people, they don't really understand what the roles of the various elected officials who serve them. They see one more visible than others, and they just assume that they are the ones to solve all the problems. But then on the flip side of that, they don't know how it all works hand in hand and coincides. I'm not here to blame any branch of government or any elected official, but what I am here to say is that many of us have failed the citizens. Why? Because we don't have those tough conversations with them, but also because we need to make sure that we force upon each other that realization that, hey, we serve a greater good, a greater cause, something greater than ourselves. And if you're not doing right, then hey, I'm gonna call you out about it. And I'm very intentional. You know that. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. You already know. I'm just like, cause why? I've put in the sweat equity. I've put in my time and service. And I think the same standard that I'm held to, that others should be held to that same standard of delivering services to their constituents. And we provide a service. That is what we do. We render service.
Well, our position is that the state is subservient to God, and it's our role. But if we're not there to be there to help you guys, then what you do it, and it's not necessarily all your fault. We are also to blame for what happens to our society. And I'm just representing these pastors who will be engaged to try to be there for you. And should you be successful at your bid for mayor, please know that we are some, and I can present some. We're not looking for money. We're not looking for promotion or position. We're just looking to be able to do a work that God has called us to do.
Absolutely.
Serve God's people. So we'll
And
be
if I can add to that, we made it a principle in our Gatekeepers organization that we don't want any favors for ourselves. We don't want favors for our churches. We are looking simply to be a voice that speaks up for perspectives from the Bible itself and for our people and their needs. Other than that, we have no interest in any aggrandizement for ourselves or our churches.
Absolutely. And our bishop has always stated that very clearly. But I will tell you one thing. I said to Bishop not this past session, but the session before last, which would have been in 2024, when he started coming to Montgomery. And I did tell him this time, as just a follow-up, he started coming and he was there pretty much every day this session.
Yes.
And I said to him in the end, I felt that I had a covering out of the first 14 years in Montgomery. It took him and the greater presence that he exhibited during this year. I felt covered. So when I say this, I say it from the bottom of my heart. I say this to I've said this to Bishop, but I'm saying to each one of you. If we had more pastors and fathers and leaders out there that would show up to hold us accountable, to hold our feet to the fire, but also to see how the processes unfold. When there was a situation arising where some monies were going to be cut from Birmingham, whether it was the Classic, whether it was the Jazz Hall of Fame, whether it was other organizations that we were seeing cuts, Bishop and others were relentless in their presence. Why was that important? Because it gave an opportunity for those who may not be a church girl, such as myself, or is involved or knowledgeable about what goes on. It was a process that unfolded that allowed for them to also see where there was a different covering over the legislature, but also a watchful eye as to what was going on. And that made a big difference with Bishop being there, because Bishop was going to come back to Birmingham. And listen, I'm just being honest with you, a watchful eye that was there to see how all of it unfolded, and to be able to walk into those rooms. And even if they're just coming in to get lunch, they're hearing enough of the conversations that they could also be resourceful. And that makes a difference.
Well, I didn't know. I was just there, and I was just there to be, as I said to the representatives and senators as I met with them, I'm just here to be here for you, for prayer, to be there, in any kind of way I can support you, your family. I just want to make sure that you support God's people. That's my
Hey,
job.
I'm gonna close out with this. If Bishop can say all of that if you want to. Listen. Okay, y'all come closer.
Yeah.
Listen. Father said he was a killer. Okay, now make it make sense. I'm just gonna be on. Listen, everybody know Bishop Jim Lowe. He does not play, and he was not gonna come down there and have all of the cuts here and there that they were trying to make, or the requests that had been made, not happen. And his presence made a difference. And I can tell you right now, just from the conversations that I had with other legislatures, the Speaker of the House, I have never heard him compliment anyone in the clergy. He was talking to me one day, and Bishop was just walking by. He said, Juandalynn, let me tell you something. He said, it is something powerful about this pastor, this bishop, Bishop Lowe. That is what he said to me. He said, he is an amazing man of God. Now, mind you, the Speaker of the House is a Republican. He don't compliment too much anything outside of the Republican Party unless he just has to make amends with Democrats. He was literally saying that about Bishop as Bishop was walking towards him, not even coming to him. He was literally just going to be walking by. So that's the impact, that the presence that he had. And I can tell you another reason, the level of respect that was gained from him being in those rooms and offering those prayers and things. It did not go unnoticed or unnoted. And that is what is wrong. I'm just telling you, with a lot of folks in these churches, they could get more done having someone in place, such as the gatekeepers, that can be in these rooms, but that can be impactful. And that's what Bishop did. And I can tell you right now, I'm not just saying it because I'm on the phone with him. I'm just telling you what was said amongst us in the House of Representatives. And that's a blessing to have that kind of presence. And to
Well, I
be able to
appreciate.
look across the aisles, because people look at this thing as, oh, well, yes, the Republicans are in control. And that's why even on this bill, HB 36, we can talk all we want to. Yes, the Trump administration has taken over the Washington, of course, the police in Washington, D.C. is not a state. That's number one. But with that being said, we all know how the Republican agendas work. If they make it a big enough part of their agenda, but we also need to tell the people the truth about how the processes unfold and what could come versus just
Well,
trying
I
to do
had
that
a,
to get a vote.
I had a, go, I had a question. Uh, Givan, Kennedy Givan. I'm sorry. Uh, of course, with the current administration, I've heard that he is doing a lot of money, funneling a lot of money from the federal resources to like the police sector, security, and things of that nature. With Birmingham being in the plight that it's in, do you see that to be a benefit for us, or are
It
we
could
still not
be,
going to
but
get as
Birmingham
much?
has one problem, and this is why Reed Ingram is sponsoring that bill, as well as the bill that I sponsored last year to tell the number of sworn police officers for which the city of Birmingham mayor fought tooth and nail, he and Roger Smitherman, to block that bill. Listen, Birmingham's problem is they don't want to tell the truth about the number of sworn officers. There's only going to be so much money you're going to get federally if you don't tell the truth about what you need. Who's going to give you extra millions of dollars and you won't even tell them the truth about the number of officers that you have? You won't even update in the system to tell the state the number of murders and killings and give them the proper crime stats. So this is where having an administration or an administrator in place that's going to mandate that those things move forward. And I'll close with this. If y'all saw the Hoover debate the other night, when Chief Dursis opened his statement, he stood up, and the first thing he did was he went to the number of sworn A-post certified officers. He said we have 200 and something employees at the police department and 190 A-post certified officers. Why? Because with Hoover, the bottom line first and foremost, is our city safe? Do we have enough? He knew and he knows the pulse of the city. Why? Because when you go to places like Hoover, they have held themselves out to not only be clean, not only to be service rich and accommodating, but it is one of the places that you can live in this area with your door unlocked. If you fail to lock the door, that nobody's coming in our house, because the people in Hoover are people who are like mind, and we have law enforcement here that's going to protect us. It is no way you would see this many people walking in the neighborhoods that you see walking through our neighborhoods, from house to house, living, panhandling, loitering, walking in our neighborhoods. Guess what? Because every one of them would be picked up and taken somewhere, but they certainly will not be in the city of Hoover, because those people, if they see you and you look like you do not belong, you are leaving in short order. So why is it acceptable here in Birmingham?
Okay.
It's a,
I guess she's calling it like it is. And I want to go back to one statement you made about the waterworks. You didn't. I don't think you said much about it. But if we don't run our city right and we don't run it well, somebody
Mm-hmm.
will come around and do
Somebody's
something,
gonna take it.
and that's
And
what.
just like with what happened with the water. Listen, we can make the argument every day. That was the worst thing that could have happened to the city of Birmingham, but it happened because your administrator was asleep at the wheel, who was one in which the Republicans had asked for information for 30 years. They've been trying to get this water, but also not only were they trying to get the water, every year we would barter with them, cut a deal. Listen, da 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 da. They promise every time we're gonna give you the information, we're gonna keep the lines of communication open. And just like you said about the metrics, about why they don't keep the city clean, it's because at the end of the day, they don't. I'll leave that
Yeah.
alone. I'm gonna leave it at this.
Okay,
The
yeah, because
bottom
you're
line
about to
is
fire me up. And the point is, politics is ruining our cities. I've
it's ruining
listened
our
to people.
cities.
I've watched what politicians do. They tell half truths. They get people to believe half the truth, and then if you
That's
ask
right.
too much information, they'll shut you down. They'll have people to run after you,
Mhm.
to come after you, to keep you from making the whole truth be known. This has happened for too long. The waterworks has gone down because of that. We were told a story, not the whole story. And
That's right.
I will
That's
say
right.
this one thing about what's going to happen to the police department. Yeah, Trump is in office, and he's showing a pattern about what's going to happen. And let's face it, Tommy Tuberville will probably be governor, and what he will do, the Birmingham Police Department, if it doesn't get better, it will be run by the state for a period of time or often. And now that's the way I see it, and I'm not
Mhm.
being political about that.
And you
That will
don't have a
happen.
whole, you also have some people out there who want some change. Just like with the waterworks, there's a belief that, oh, all of the black people, no, because I had people on the flip side saying they wanted relief from those $800, $900 water bills that had gone from $60 a month that was now 900, 800. And because of the mismanagement, listen,
Mismanagement by government officials who
by
people
government
don't.
officials and those who they appointed. You
Yes.
have to be present at the table, but not just present at the table. You have to be intentional about the processes. And unfortunately, we have a situation in which our people, unfortunately, have just dropped the ball, and that is why the Republicans have more access, or and more intentional now about the takeovers. And I don't necessarily think it's takeovers. What they're saying is they want to be able to expand the services, to have people at the table, to that we can deal with these issues, and people who are competent. Because when and I'll close with this, at the hearings that we had in Montgomery, when Senator Roberts stood up, he said, we've given Birmingham every opportunity. He said, but they continue to appoint incompetent people to the board, and they provide a service to the people that is not fair, and the processes shows a lack of incompetence. So for me, hearing that, and to have to hear that for a 2-week time period almost about that water, it was insulting to me, because I know many of the people on the Water Works board, but surely after a few months, and you see where individuals' bills have gone up from $60 to $700, $800, and that you employed a new system for your for you to read the meters, and you didn't train the people, you didn't do crisis management, and you got people. And listen, leading into that, guess what? Every day leading into that vote, I was on the phone. Listen, I was on the phone with pastor preachers that have buildings or businesses where they literally, I was having to get $1,500 water bills knocked down because they were
Yeah.
there were errors in the reading of the bills. That's pitiful. That's unacceptable. $1,500 out of one household when they don't even have. Come on.
Okay. All right. Listen. Okay.
I'm just saying now.
You just saying. All right. Okay. Well,
And
I'm going
Bishop
to bring.
Robert said, my mama sent me when I was doing my hand, somebody was bringing me some. I've been trying to get some smothered chicken and rice for a very long time. My mama sent me today some smothered chicken and rice. And as much as I want to keep talking to you all and would love your support, I'm getting ready to get in this plate.
You need to go get your smothered chicken and rice. And I'm trying to stop it, because if you talk too much, you'll get me fired up. And people try to tell me, stay calm. I stay away from certain places when I
And
see
plus, you
stuff.
know what's going on now, because you've been down there and you have seen what's
I
been going
know
to
what's
happen.
going on. And I don't, what I don't like, and Father Mitch right there is an instigator who goes historically and will bring up what government has done and what mismanagement has done to the people. And I'm a nerd too. That's all I am. And the point is, I see us going in directions that are not going to be good for my grandchildren. And I'm not talking about the city of Birmingham. I'm talking about in general. I can talk about some other places I know of that people, if we're not completely open and honest to be able to talk to one another and ask questions, question this, question that, always question your government, always question, because government has ways of doing things. But I don't want to get started. I'm going to let you go. Father Mitch, any closing remarks? Pastor Edwards, we're not going to let
I would just say this. I would say this, just that in the Catholic Church, we confess our own sins and don't have other people confess them for us.
So that sounds like if we would judge ourselves, we would not come under judgment. That's what you're saying. Well, okay, Pastor Edwards, you got any words?
Just thank you again, candidate Givan. Keep doing what you're doing for the city, regardless of the outcome. I know you will, just seeing that the works that you've been doing, how long you've been doing the work, and as a citizen or just being involved, man, I just really love your energy and all that you mean for the city. Either way it goes, thank you for caring about the city and its people as much as you do, as we do as well.
Okay, well, she's gone dark right now, so she's probably over there chomping down some of that smothered chicken and rice. So for everybody else,
God bless y'all.
Yeah, we're leaving, and we're going to share this around so other people can have this intimate interview with Juandalynn Givan. God bless you all. We are the Gatekeepers, and we will be doing more of these in the next few days. God bless.
God bless.
Bye.